This was the first home that Andy and I bought together, where we actually walked into a home and totally fell in love with it. We had this real amazing rural feel. We had a beautiful little, we had a 3-bedroom, we had plans drawn up to extend it. And literally a week after we got the plans to extend our house and make it our dream, that's when the September earthquake happened. So everything kind of out the window. We had no toilet, no clean water. We had Cam, so all we were worried about was whether we had enough nappies and food, and we were really lucky. We were able to get out and sort that.
After the earthquakes, many people were in positions where there were so many things outside of their control. Their jobs had changed, or that maybe the place they worked for had closed down. They had to travel across town. They're sending their kids to different schools. There were so many unknown factors, not even to mention their home and the conditions they were living in. And the cash grant was a way for them to identify what they needed and then specifically address that.
Life in Brighton was pretty challenging. We had no water and no electricity for 3 weeks. We didn't have a flushing toilet for 6 months. And my husband's bicycle got squished under a pile of bricks, and then his workplace wasn't in the central city anymore. So he was studying out over near Hornby and teaching out in Rangiora. And so suddenly he had to take the car, and we were a 1-car family. And the buses weren't running, and there was no way I could have 2 children, especially one being a baby, on my bicycle.
Our largest grant was the Emergency Hardship Grant. That was shortly after the earthquake, and we distributed something to the tune of about $44 million. And the grant was really targeted at making a difference to the most vulnerable and those most affected by the earthquake.
So Red Cross did lots of really cool things. They also gave keep warm packs to people for people whose houses were still a wee bit broken and cold. And they also gave us some money to help us buy the car.
I was humming and ahhing about whether to go back to work full-time because I'd actually lost my office in Christchurch in the February quake. I decided that because we were getting a payout from our insurance company and we had the storage allowance from Red Cross, that's when we decided to hire a container and put it on some land that we'd seen. So as soon as our land was confirmed as red zoned, we bought the land out in Amberley and put a storage container on it, and then organised to build a sleep out so that we had somewhere to live. To be honest, that felt like the escape bolt hole. It felt like we could finally relax. The way it's been built, it's steel and it's in concrete, so we felt like we were suddenly safe.
Grown quite a bit, haven't you?
Yeah. One of the things that I think made the grant process really successful was that our grants team were from the community, living through the earthquakes themselves, so they could empathise with the people. When someone rang up about a grant, the other person on the end of the line had a young family themselves, were living in the quakes themselves, knew what it was like.
Early on it was very, very chaotic, which sort of reflected the scenes outside the building as well. You know, Christchurch was a mess and so was everybody.
Some of the most memorable experiences were having bottled water. It was great to come to work and have fresh water to drink because we had no water at home.
The needs of grants were identified using a very robust procedure. One of the things we did was a lot of research to make sure that we didn't duplicate anything else that was available. The other thing we did was looked at evidence of what's worked in the past, and then we also put a monitoring process in place. We would monitor the impact and see if it was achieving what we needed it to achieve.
That $1,000 grant turning up when it did was just so perfect. A lot of other things that we were going through, you know, like EQC insurance hoops and all those other sorts of things which were quite intense. This was really simple, and the turnaround was really quick, and you know, that was just boom, our life was changed. We could get on with that little bit.
Some days it feels like forever ago and this is another world. The community has just been so amazing at welcoming us. Andy's started a business out here and is working with Enterprise North Canterbury. Our neighbours are just lovely. We actually know the neighbours here just as well as we did in Brooklands.
We've got so much to be grateful for, haven't we, Calix? We love living in Brighton. You know, there's a really amazing community and friends around us, and we really feel lucky to be here. My husband qualified as a teacher, and now he has a job teaching at the school that our children go to, and life is good.
Through the grants programme, we helped over 100,000 people. I think the people that donated the money, I mean, they're the ones that really stepped up and made a difference. For generations to come, people will remember the help they received from the rest of New Zealand, from other Red Cross national societies. They won't forget this.
It's an amazingly satisfying job. It can get pretty stressful. Dealing with people's hardships and hearing their stories is a lot to take on sometimes, but it just gives you such a good feeling when you're able to help out.
Pretty much all of us who have worked in this role, whether it's just been for a few months or for a few years, we've all come away feeling like it's one of the best things that we've ever done.
To be on the receiving end of that level of compassion was absolutely, quite literally life-changing. And
took a huge amount of pressure off, didn't it?
Oh, for sure.
Here's one for you, Mummy.
So thank you very, very much. Now I'm going to cry.